Okay, so we'll get underway. As I just explained to everybody just off camera, the first episode of Knight's Fables, which I hope is terribly enjoyable and my planning goes to plan, is set in a sci-fi universe known as the Gensky Imperium. So we'll start with Dash, played by Bruce. Why are you in Brayfield, Dash? And also give a bit of a description of your character and stuff like that.
Right, who are we talking to here?
Bruce.
Bruce,
Oh,
Flash.
sorry, I had no idea.
No, Flash. Sorry, yes, Flash.
Okay, I was thinking, what on earth are you talking about? Okay. I have very little idea why I would be on such a world, so I'm going to have to defer to Little Pig to find out why he's dragged me to such a place.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, this would be probably a perfect place to try and find my siblings who disappeared on me.
Okay.
It's quite likely they may have got collared and dragged here or something like that. And I lost my siblings on this, two little siblings on the stairs some time ago, and have been searching for them ever since. I ran into Flash, who a young pony who helped out of a scrape, and yeah, he's been able to get me into places I haven't been able to get into before. So we've sort of hung around together for a while, and he managed to get me into here.
Okay, so you helped him out of a scrape. What was the scrape about?
I'll defer back to Bruce. I can't remember. We did discuss it briefly, but
Sorry, mate, I sent it to you by email the other night, and I just haven't looked at it again. I'll have to pull it up.
I think essentially it was he walked into an area. He's not a big tough individual. He's a bit more of a if it's too tough run away type of guy, and I think he got a bit cornered,
Okay.
and I helped him out or something like that.
Okay. That's a bit too much of my character revealed in one go.
I think it's involved
that's-
some, yeah.
I'm very disappointed that got revealed, Craig.
Okay, sorry.
So Flash, you're a pony. Oh.
Bruce cracked his hands.
I didn't think you revealed that much about his character at all.
No, I didn't think I did either. But he's a bit temperamental at times.
Okay, fair enough. It could also just be a technical issue where he's dropped out, so that's alright. We'll move on to Tony's character. Tony's character, your character's name I'm not terribly familiar with. I know the history of him, but not his name.
It was Major Armand Lee Smith, I believe. Yeah, it is, yeah. Check that.
Yep.
And the reason he'd be on this planet, I suppose, he is hunting down old enemies that he's currently still at war with over his own home place. It's quite feasible I would have chased one of them to here. Either that, or I am looking for technology or anything to rehabilitate my home planet.
Okay. Are you sort of looking at... Oh. Are you looking for perhaps an infestation of these creatures that may have come up in this Imperium or something similar like that? You've heard news of something along those lines?
Yes, I'm looking to see if I can find out where they originally came from.
Okay.
A planet here, or whether I'm not too sure if they ever originated on the Great Stairway or not.
Okay, not a problem. That's all good. Now, we'll lead on to James's character. James, have you sort of sorted out names and stuff like that yet?
Yep, my name is Li Tsen, and effectively I'm exploring the stair in pursuit of further information and enlightenment.
Okay, so
So-
why have you come to this particular? Is it just somewhere you've happened across, or?
Well, it's a massively exciting and different world.
Okay.
I'm attracted to the learning of the difference.
The learning of a difference.
A new experience.
A new experience.
Okay. Right. Well, there we go. Bruce's disappearance has thrown me somewhat, but we'll continue on. Okay. So, what did I... Okay, so you're currently... who's new? Who's been here for a while searching around? Who's not?
I'd say I'm probably relatively new to the place.
Okay. There are only one or two doors that actually come into this particular reality as well. There used to be a lot more, but for some reason they've all been disappearing.
Do they come to this planet?
What's that?
Do the doors open to this planet itself, or is it just the Imperium?
The best known ones open to this planet.
Okay. Yeah, I could say I've been there for a while. We'll say 2 months searching down this place, and so far unsuccessful. And I've come to the opinion that maybe I'm chasing a wild goose, and I probably should be leaving it, heading on somewhere else. But I'll have one good look around still.
Okay. No worries. In that case, what is going on? James, I'm assuming that you just wandered into the planet as well?
Yeah, I'm happy to just have wandered in at the moment. That sounds good to me.
Okay. Not a problem. From the looks of it, Bruce isn't coming back. Just to
No.
put it out there.
Probably not.
So we will. I'll see if I can have a talk to him later on. Okay. Where you currently are, you've one of the doorways opens up into a bar, which is quite handy and more than likely a place that was chosen by some drunkard of a lord or a lady of Gossamer who just thought it was funny at the time. The bar itself is run by a guy known as Bina, and most people are pointed towards Bina if they want to head to this area. If you're in the Agora, you can pretty much get little cards with his image on it that can be used for writing if you have that ability or power. And essentially, him being a lord himself, has managed to keep the existence of this particular door quiet. He's aware of the fact that the Gensky Imperium has located or understands that these doors exist, and so he realizes that he has some powerful information and ability. Plus, he likes the idea that people come through and tell him new stories about what's going on the Grand Stair. He doesn't particularly like the Grand Stair. He feels threatened by certain elements of the Grand Stair, but generally he stays away from it itself. It may be that you've come to find some information from Bina as well, because he is a guy that is in the know, largely. He hears a lot of stories, and, you know, when he's just putting on the barman's routine, he hears a lot about what's going on. But in essence, you find yourself in the Tablets. It's a nice little place, but it's not extravagant by any stretch of the imagination. Brayfell City is fairly dirty, even though it rains all the time. Nothing ever seems to clean away, especially the blood. Um, the the local population are made up of essentially reformed criminals. It's still that new for this planet to actually be part of the Gensky Imperium that the populace is made up of criminals that are now having to learn to get along with one another. There are some serious gangs in this place, but the Gensky Imperium came in, they put their atmosphere generators on to calm down the planet's atmosphere, which was exceptionally violent previously, and started to put to employ some of these people for pardons. There still exists a strong enforcer environment, but most of the ones that said no, because essentially it's a voluntary program, become a citizen or be shipped to the next penal planet. But still, people go missing regularly with regular frequency. People get shipped offshore exceptionally frequently to be sent to the next penal planets. Okay. With that, you're probably all sitting around the bar, unless any of you, so none of you know each other?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
I may have heard of the one that calls him the Wolf or whatever it was.
Yes, more than likely, especially because of your background. In fact, we'll say that that's a nice link. You have heard of the Wolf because he killed pigs.
Yep.
But and that's the story that gets about a bit on the stair whenever anybody's talking about it, and especially if somebody's out asking, have you seen my brother and sister and whatnot, and they look at you and they go, no, but we've heard of people that kill you, and they sort of relay the story of the wolf. And there's some strange parallels between the stories, but you've definitely heard of him, but not seen any particular images of him, or etc. So you may not know that that's particularly him sitting across the bar from you.
Quite possibly not.
This current evening is the one day in 10 where it doesn't rain. And when it doesn't rain, it's swelteringly hot. And there's a huge amount of humidity in the area because of the amount of water that's on planet. It's largely a byproduct of the atmospheric process. Tells you, the barmaid tells you each, and she drops off some cold beer-like beverage. I say it's beer-like because it's quite red and thick. You almost feel like you need to eat it with a spoon rather than drink it, but you force it down anyway.
I'll just have a water, thanks.
That brings quite a bit of amusement from the people in the bar when you say that, because they just say,
And a broad grin.
Walk outside and open your mouth is essentially what people tell each other when they ask for a water.
Fair enough.
But of course they comply. The water here is a strange grey-like colour, which again, she tells you, atmospheric. Eventually you get to learn that you've just got to nod and smile at them and say atmospheric generators a lot. Whenever you look at the quality of their food, they bring you an apple and it's just barely pale green, and you go, oh, atmospheric generators, and they just nod at you or whatever you particularly want to ask for. Anything is very grey and washed out in a lot of the colours, and they seem to tend to put this down to the atmospheric generators. Interrupting each of your drinks, though, you see, or you don't see, you actually hear the sound of actuators outside. Something rather heavy and large is moving about in the street directly outside of the bar.
Okay. I remain seated, sipping the beer, but kind of turn myself towards the door. Does it look like anybody's panicking?
You look around the room trying to trying to play off the locals, and you sort of see them. They're all become slightly nervous and shifting in their seats, but they're not panicking or, you know, running, oh my god, quick run for your lives or anything like that.
Okay, yeah, remain seated and keep drinking and see if there's any reaction. If this thing keeps moving past or what.
Okay, you sit there and you watch towards the door, and you can see that the on the along the walls there are actually vid panels. They're not actually windows, but they're vid panels that have cameras on the other side of the concrete wall. The reasons behind this is the concrete walls are about 7 foot deep, and they're remnants of the old prison system. Essentially, most of the stuff in this planet is actually built from the old prisons organisation and sections, etc. They do the best of it to make it look like a nice little neat window, but you realise when you walk out the front door that you actually travel a good 7 feet or so before you actually reach the external airlock. Airlock being the key word. You turn and you look at the screens and you suddenly see a red light begin to flash, and you look amongst it. It's actually being amplified by the steam and mist that's in the current air. You can't terribly get a good look of it because of the steam is steaming up all of the cameras, essentially.
Do we have any idea what that red light might mean? Especially the guy that's been here.
You listen carefully and you hear a hiss of somebody say enforcer. They found a crime, and one sort of like moves across towards you. He says they found something. And then you can see a couple of people begin to look reasonably nervous, and a couple of people have a couple of conversations. Anybody with, in fact, you can tune in on their conversations. You hear a couple of them say, "Oh, you didn't leave the stash in the car, did you?" No, we haven't got anything like that around here. Oh, Johnny wasn't meant to be meeting us. No. Don't know what it could be. Don't worry, just calm down. They'll recognise you for it. After about a minute, the inner door to the airlock swings open, and you see a figure. You're fairly certain he's got to be engineered more than naturally born. You see shoulders that would make Superman cry, broadly stretch across a face that's, exceptionally square and broad, one that's perfectly genetically engineered. It's perfect weight on left as it is to the right. It's eerie in its beautifulness, but also scary in the size of it. You can see that he wears some kind of uniform, which you automatically assume is the uniform of an enforcer. He stands at the doorway and he looks in a 180-degree scan. From one side of the room, you can see his eyes start directly to the left of the door, which disappears perfectly into a wall recess. It's not a swingy, openy type door in any way, shape or form. And he looks directly from one side of him, perfectly 90 degrees to his left, through the full gamut until he's perfectly 90 degrees to the right. And you get the feeling that you're being observed by more than just an organic set of eyes as he passes over you. He steps forward, he says, I am Enforcer Hosea Fish.
Okay.
I need to know each of your names and prison identification numbers.
Alright, neither of a problem. Does everybody on the planet have a prison identification number?
Are you asking that out loud?
No, I'm not asking it loud. But as I've been here for 2 months, do I know if everybody has to have?
99% of people do. Generally, only executives that came from the company, or from the Genski immigration department, actually don't. And you also realise that many, or most of them, 99.9% of them, probably wouldn't live in this part of town.
Fair enough.
All right.
Well, do
They're an
people
elite.
do anything?
A few people sort of start raising up their arms, and you can see that there are barcodes on it. They said, just after a drink. You can see Bina raises his, and as he does, the pattern appears along his arm.
Okay.
All right, I raise my metal arm and tell him I lost it when I lost the arm.
He looks over you and glances at the arm up and down. Name?
Armand Lee.
Crime?
Petty theft.
Petty theft. This is amusing because I live in Tasmania, you know. We were a penal colony.
All of Australia was really.
Excellent. He looks you up and down. Do not leave, Mr. Lee. I need a statement from you. Then he steps over to you, Shaolin monk of the wispiness. He looks you up and down at your gi and your general demeanour.
I'll give him a very broad smile.
He looks at you. Slumming it, sir.
Oh, I'm enjoying the discourse of the evening.
I did not know that you were out of the sector.
One can't always only travel in the mind.
He frowns at you, seems to pause as if he's going to think about that for a moment, then shakes his head and moves past you. He makes his way over to Little Pig, and you see him stop momentarily and look at your bulk, and then sort of at your obvious...
Although that picture makes me look massive, I'm only about 4 foot tall.
Okay.
7 foot something.
I was sure you were going to be like some huge monstrosity. Okay.
No.
Hence Little Pig. I thought it was ironic. Okay, he looks down at you then, probably from about 3.5 feet taller than you.
Yep.
Prison ID.
What's that?
Where are you from?
Around the place. I get around.
He looks you up and down. Well, looks more down than up. In fact, he doesn't look up at all. And he raises an arm, and you see he has some kind of wristband on it, which he taps incessantly at, and it flashes some lights at him. And he seems to nod as he scans you up and down. What is your species?
Pig.
I did not ask what you looked like. I asked what your species is.
That is my species.
What planet are you from?
I don't know. I don't actually have a planet home name, but my home planet. That's where I'm from. Dormal. I don't know. I just pick a name out.
That's all right. You can make the name up later. My home planet's fine. He seems to type some more stuff into his detail and okay. He looks you up and down and he says, "Is your home planet far from here?"
My home planet is definitely a long way from here.
How did you come to be upon, or what is your purpose of being upon Iriguis?
I come seeking my some companions.
Companions? What time did you arrive?
I don't know. What time did I arrive? I've been here a little while. I don't know, about 3 days ago.
Have you moved much around the city?
Not that much, no. I've only just got here. I'm just trying to feel my way out.
What ship did you arrive on?
Do I have any feel for what that might mean?
Yes, you're generally very familiar with the fact that most people in, especially, oh, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm asking. I've only been here a few days.
No, probably not.
Okay. I just say the morning shift.
He looked at you and he says, "Consider yourself detained, little pig." And then he wanders around and he discusses a few things and he takes scans of everybody else's wrists. He reaches Bina. He looks down at him, scans his. You see Bina simply smile at him as the lights on his wristband suddenly go red, and then the entire device seems to die momentarily. And then you hear you hear the Windows startup sound go as his wristband essentially restarts. And the enforcer turns and he looks across the room and he says, "There has been a murder." And he looks around looking for responses. Sees none.
Is that unusual here?
"It is not, but it soon will be," says the enforcer. I am empowered with the ability to punish the offender. There is but one punishment for the crime of murder upon this planet. It is the same as per every planet of the Gensky Imperium. The punishment is death.
Fair enough.
You have all been logged into the system. It says, you may leave once you tell me where you're staying. It says you will each give me a sample of your DNA before leaving. This area is now considered a crime scene.
If you say so. I didn't see any crime.
Perhaps, but I will be the judge upon that. He walks forward and he hands each of you a little sort of plastic scraper, pointing out that he just wants some dead skin cells off your arm, goes through the procedure for you. Is anybody refusing the procedure?
No, I don't have a problem.
Nope.
He said, well, he doesn't come to you, James. You walk straight past your character.
I look marginally disappointed.
Well, presumably believes you're already on record.
He steps past you, each of you. Bina comes over to you, little pig, and he points across, and he sits at your table. He says, don't worry about the enforcer. Just doing their job, trying to scare everybody. He looks across, he says, there are two more of us here. The one, and he points at the monk that the guy keeps walking past and made relative comment to, is a lord that came through this morning, or not so long ago. Says the other guy across there would know a fair bit of information if you're looking for your brothers and sisters. That guy over there is known as the Wolf, and no pun intended, he says.
I'm staring quite emphatically at that table, since somebody at the table has declared themselves a pig as their race.
He says it's quite funny. He says, sure, you might have heard of him on the stair. I don't know. It gets definitely the raising of an eyebrow every time the story of the big bad wolf and the little pigs gets told on the story.
Yes, I've heard the story a number of times. But yes, I'm intrigued to meet this wolf.
Very well. Bina stands up, shoots you a big broad smile, Wolf, and say, I think he's one of them. And he turns around and he walks off to the bar.
I'll casually walk over to the table and have a seat if it's free in front of the pig.
I've got a feeling we're going to have a Han Solo Greedo moment.
Wolf.
Let's find out who did shoot first.
Your reputation precedes you.
You identified your race as pig. May I ask where you're from?
I'm from a world where we live. My world was full of us.
Certainly doesn't meet the description that you call pigs.
No. Too close to shape.
Mind you, perhaps he's the brain bug.
Oh no, we've gone Starship Troopers.
Tell me, is
Yeah.
there out of character, is there a way for you to detect other lords psychically, or?
No,
We've
not really.
Okay, well, we've sort of got one in ours that allows you, yes, to be able to know that somebody, or there's a lord in the area and you can identify him, but you know, I don't know whether you want to do that or not. That's entirely up to you. I mean,
It's probably wise to do something like that.
how did Rayak, or whatever his name was, identify us otherwise?
Because you came through the door. He's the guardian of the door.
Oh, okay, so if we come through, he knows we've come through.
Yeah, essentially the door, unless it's being used by a warden, is essentially the door to his cellar.
Okay.
And it's the only way out, so he knows anybody that walks through that door is
Yep.
the Lord and Lady of Gossamer. Hang on, let's have a look. It'll be under the warden of the stair if you can.
There isn't actually anything in the book about it. Being
Okay.
able to,
Well, we'll say that if you have the warden of the Grand Stair ability, then you're able to pick others that have the ability to open doors.
Okay, well, I have that skill anyway, or that power.
Okay, then you would have picked these other two out of the room earlier on. But
and
we'll-
Braggs
just to
just
put
identified them anyway. So
just to put a twist on the power, we'll say that having that ability, you can determine those that have the capability of opening a door. So they might not be other wardens of the stair. They might not even be other lords of Gossamer and Shadow. They might be people that are in their employ, or somebody with a key, or somebody who innately might one day become a lord of Gossamer and Shadow.
Okay.
fair enough.
Can you have a power to attempt to block that being detected?
Well, the master can block a lot of things, can't he?
Yeah,
He can block.
yeah. The master. If
Okay.
you get master ability, you can stop it.
Fair enough.
And certain sorceries as well would probably be able to enable you to stop that as well.
Fair enough.
Okay. Is the enforcer still taking samples?
Pretty much, yes. He's about to kick everybody out, so... and essentially shutting down the entire block. You have been staying in the hotel that's attached to this bar, but he's about to evacuate everybody.
All right. Well, I
And their
guess we're
word
on.
is pretty much. Okay. Currently, you are, apart from Bina, you are the only ones in this room that have that capability.
Okay.
Just so you know.
No worries.
All right, he's kicking us out, is he?
So,
Very shortly, you will be. Yeah.
so I hear stories of you killing pigs.
I think it's a stretch of the imagination. I don't kill all pigs. They're kind of it's more of a nickname for a creatures I'm hunting.
I see.
Shapeshifters more than anything.
Yes, I had a we had a issue back on my homeworld where we had invaders of canine form. I wondered whether you're one of them, come to hunt The Last of Us.
No, I hold my hands out as a thing. I'm human, as in humanoid, but a human face anyway. So as you can see, I'm not canine anyway. Wolf is an old nickname that I've picked up in the war on my home planet.
I see. Well, in that case, I hope we can be friends.
Well, allies for the moment. Eh?
What an odd couple. Little pig and the wolf.
What do you know of the not over to the monk table?
I've never seen him before, but he seems awfully happy to be anyway in his right mind.
He,
I put my hands together in front of me and give them a little nod.
seems to
Yes,
have
that's what
some power
he's
over
selling.
mine.
I suggest not taking a pamphlet anyway.
I said, inputs.
Oh dear. If you start singing Hari, run.
We'll wave across to the monk for him to approach our table.
I'll excitedly get over to the table. I've been waiting for this invitation. Greet them again. Greetings.
Hello.
I am Li Tsen.
Nice to meet you, Lee.
It's always
Please.
good to meet a fellow traveller.
Please take a seat.
Thank you.
Okay, the enforcer turns and he looks across the room. He walks up to your table. He's essentially stopped processing the locals and sent the last one out. And he comes over to Lee Sen. I'm sorry, sir. I was not aware that these two were with you.
Well, I really just like to talk to people, and they seem to be very nice, so I'm going to look after them from now on.
They are protected by you.
Yes, they are.
He reaches down. You get the feeling, just based off your military background, he's reaching for a holster, but are relieved to find that he actually only opens up a plastic compartment, which he pulls both of your samples out. Sorry, sirs, I did not know that you were protected.
I
Thank
see.
you.
No problem. No problem, enforcer. Easily mistake to make. I'll just take the samples off them and slip them into my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
And he turns and he leaves the building. He says, "Of course you are not subject to the curfew, sir."
Where was this murder enforcer?
It was. He turns and he says something in. Oh no, you've got the. He turns and he tells you that it was in the aqueduct, which is a strange word that you haven't heard for a long time. He tells you it was in the aqueduct that leads to this building.
Fair enough.
Who was this poor victim?
Currently unidentified.
Another off-worlder, perhaps?
Their prison identification arm has been severed and taken.
Somebody got hungry.
The enforcer casts you a wry smile and says, "With some of the population, sir, quite possibly." Do you wish to take a look at the scene?
Oh, absolutely, Enforcer. I would really like to have a look and see you at your work.
Okay. Now he looks unnerved, but shakes it off, and he says it is unusual for someone of such high office to take such an interest, sir. But I welcome your concern.
Can my friends join us?
Absolutely, if that is your wish.
Shall we go and have a look, guys?
This guy just makes me laugh.
And well, out the window goes the Dark Fables. Here's Comedy Hour with Lee Sun.
I can just envision that classic Monk parody.
Oh dear, it's like Tripitaka on Happy Pills. Right.
Well, here's Pigsy.
Exactly.
Oh dear. Okay, you leave with the Enforcer leading you along the way. You see he reaches the outer door of the airlock. He turns and apologises that he does not have any protection from the humidity available, sir. The budget does not extend to such comforts as they have in the central tower. And he looks earnestly at you for some form of approval.
Trudging is a must. If we must trudge.
Excellent, sir. He turns and Enforcer Hosea Fish opens the airlock and steps out. You're automatically hit by a large burst of humidity. It's around about 50 degrees outside, and probably 99% humidity.
Well, I'm sweating like a pig.
Yeah, I've walked into that.
He thought he'd get into game 3 before he had to use it, but
Oh dear. I should have seen that one coming from about, last Thursday. He leads you out, and it is. Your breath almost gets sucked out of you, and all of your clothing becomes essentially wet. You see what the sound of the servos were, as you can see that there is a 10-foot tall exoskeleton currently opened up, which is most likely the way that Enforcer Hosea Fish arrived. In fact, it would be rather odd for somebody else to have some kind of official security vehicle that looked like that in any way, shape or form. The vehicle itself is heavily armed and armoured. It has light machine guns on each arms, has a small rocket pack, short-range missiles on its shoulders, on either side of its shoulders, and essentially is a nasty piece of work. The light that's flashing is coming from this particular device. There is a display that's raised up from the head of the exoskeleton and is currently flashing. It's also got a hologram projector that's been placed down on the ground, and there is the yellow tape of Earth that we see of crime line do not cross is now hologrammed into the area. You can see only a portion of this area is taken. As you can see, a large plate has been removed from the ground, and there is a set of there's a ladder essentially extending into the ground itself. Down there, sir, do you wish me to lead the way?
I'm happy to go first.
Very well, I will stand guard at the top. When you reach the bottom, he says, it is around about a 10-foot drop. He says the murder will become apparent. Follow the smell.
Excellent.
Follow the smell of the rotting carcass. Oh, awesome.
Okay. Well, I turn towards the Enforcer and say, yeah, nice ride.
Mm. He says it serves well. He looks at you and he says, for one that is so new to this place, how did you come to be employed by the chief enforcer?
Ah, it's just the way it is. Sometimes you know where you're needed.
Indeed, I engineered that way and have collared many important arrests in my time, and I struggle yet to get from the base levels of this organisation.
Follow the gut. Always follow mine.
He looks down at your gut. Then you see him look momentarily at his flat, rock-hard 6 abs, and shake his head and turn and start moving traffic away from the area. No, ma'am, you may not come this way. Please return to your home. Nothing to see here, he says, as the chief enforcer, slips down the ladder.
Fair enough.
Excellent.
Nice case of mistaken identity. Gee, he must have plenty of good stuff.
After you, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, I'll drop down.
Okay, you start heading down the ladder and you all join forces at the bottom of the ladder itself. It is indeed exactly as he suggested. There is a pungent smell down here. It's definitely the smell of death. And the heat's not adding or not lessening it in any way, shape or form. You find yourself actually in an area that looks very much like an ancient aqueduct. Probably the reason that it's been called an aqueduct. It has open water running through the aqueduct itself. That water actually is surprisingly quite a clean blue colour. Nice, refreshing blue, which is surprising compared to the slop that you're being served in Bina's place.
And that smells not nearly as good as I'd hoped.
Definitely not down here, no. The smell of a rotting corpse doesn't quite beckon with roses on this particular reality, or any in my realities. You following the smell, or are you turning away from it?
Following the smell.
Happy to go and have a look.
Okay. You follow the smell, turning down the down to the right, which is doesn't matter the direction. You turn to the right and you follow the aqueduct. It's actually taking a large curving area, and it's not long. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes of travelling along the sides of this aqueduct that you see a large figure in the darkness ahead of you, laid out. The figure does indeed have one less arm than expected, but the surprising thing to you is the figure appears to have, it would probably be about 9 foot tall, this particular figure, and it has antlers from what you can see.
Okay. Yeah.
Is the only thing missing on it his arm?
He is missing a portion of his arm, but it seems to have been, what are they called, cauterized. Instead of antlers or horns per se. As you get closer, you see that the figure that is dead, quite obviously dead, it's bloated and its skin's beginning to crack. It's probably been dead for probably the better pace of maybe 3 or 4 days by now. You see the skin's green, which you kind of go, yeah, it's a bit awkward. But then you realise that the figure that is laying there is a Dwimmerlake.
Okay. I don't know whether I actually know what a Dwimmerlake is, but yep.
You would have heard rumours. If you've travelled the stair by any stretch of the imagination, Dwimmerlake's one of the first words that get mentioned in, if they're telling stories and fairy tales or anything like that.
Yep. Okay.
Then you hear of the Dwemer Lake being the darkness that travel the shadow and stuff like that.
Okay.
It does make things interesting, doesn't it?
The figure has, as you get closer, you see that the Dwemer Lake is exactly what all of the stories have told that it was. It has its horns slash antlers are covered in sort of intricate writings or carvings that have been carved into the horn itself. Their bodies are larger, more powerful. They're just frightening. You would imagine, even given some of your own skills in weaponry and hand-to-hand fighting, that this would have been an impressive foe indeed. Everything just seems that much more powerful. You can also see that the Enforcer has not moved the body in any way, shape or form. And this one, in its other hand, grasps a large bone sword that has black and blood essentially across the blade, as if there was some kind of battle.
Does the place look like there was a battle happened in it, or?
Having a good look around, you note that there seems to be no signs of a struggle or battle in any way, shape or form. In fact, you note that this creature would have been well and truly too large for the tunnel itself, had it stood to its full height.
Okay. I want to inspect the wound. Is there any indication of what might have done such a thing?
Okay, you look at the wound and realise that it wasn't a new wound. It's old scarring. This creature had lost its arm many, many years before.
Okay. All right.
So what killed it?
What are you looking for? There is nothing obvious to the eye.
Well, I checked to see if he carries anything else. Around.
Little pig, where are we? I need to have a look at your character sheet.
Can I, although he's not breathing, obviously, is he actually dead? Psychically, can I check it anyway?
You're going to attempt to psychically probe a Dwemer Lake?
Yes.
Hopefully dead.
Okay. You gently probe the Dwemer Lake? Would that be...
Is that well in reach of the actual sword that we have just taken off him?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Has somebody actually taken the sword?
Well, I'm assuming that the wolf just kicked it away from him as he moves in a little bit closer.
Okay.
You step down and you place your hands upon the body of the creature after moving away its sword, psychically probing for a moment to see if there's any spark of life, but you get nothing in return. Whatever once resided there, unless these creatures just, are psychically dead, and many of the tales would suggest they are, but most people scoff at such ignorant ramblings.
We tend to belay stories of witches.
Yes, pretty much. Goes along with the tales that they're as light as a feather as well, pretty much. It's just complete and utter rubbish. But whatever life this thing had, it no longer clings to.
Well, I try and grab the sword before it goes in any water or anything to try and preserve the blood on it.
Okay. Not a problem. You draw up the bone sword. You find that it's exceptionally well made and well weighted. You can't tell for the life of you what the bone comes from, because the bone's probably about 7 foot long.
So
for the blade itself, so it's exceptionally long.
as big again as I am.
It is, but it's also incredibly light.
Fair enough.
It also has runes etched in which are very similar. In fact, you would suggest that they're the same type of script that are etched into this creature's antlers, horns, whatever you want to call them.
Yep. Was there anything else on this creature?
It's very exotically dressed. It has quite a few talismans, amulets, trinkets that hang from clothing made of skins of some kind of creatures. You're not entirely certain. The upper half of this creature is naked, except for tattoos that adorn its body. Again, many of the tattoos are written tattoos, but some of them seem to be pictorial representations of a large manor as well that crosses across its rib cage. It has a set of gauntlet, a gauntlet made of some kind of red metal material as well. Seemed to have been. There was a chain that came across it. It was a locked gauntlet, but the chain appears shattered. So the links that are still on it are.
Is there any sign of what killed this thing?
If you were to hazard a guess just at looking at it without moving the body or anything like that, it just looks like it laid down and died.
I see.
But the blade itself is
Has
in
blood.
odd. Yeah, it's in odd juxtaposition to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any way, can I, looking over its stuff and all that, say it's too big to move here, is it?
If it were to stand up, it would have had to have actually crouched, hunched over and moved forward through this particular area. It would have been extremely hampered in here. You're fine though. These tunnels have been built for humans.
So, Mr. Head Enforcer, what's the procedure here?
Who's the head enforcer?
Well, you apparently. Also, the enforcer upstairs informed me.
I wondered why my fortune was so good. Well,
Does
should
anyone
we?
know what the procedure here is, as far as he's concerned? How about you, Mr. Wolf? You've been here a while.
Well, since what it is from... We are by ourselves, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Since what it is from the stair, I think it warrants a closer look. And this thing can't have got in too many places down this tunnel, so let's say if we backtrack along where it came, we should find a place where it got in.
Perhaps we should inform Vina.
Yep, that probably is a good idea.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I'll leave the sword with one of these guys and hobble up the stairs, up the ladder, and go and inform Vina briefly of what we found.
Okay. He looks troubled.
I assume it didn't come through your door.
Well, it's Dwimmer Lake. Door or shadow doesn't seem to bother them terribly much. In fact, the Grand Stair struggles with them. Are you absolutely certain?
As certain as I can be. I've never met one before.
Nor have I.
It fits the stories. Large creature, antlers, flat nose, face, tattoos, etchings on the antlers, carries a large sword, similar etchings. Fits
Killed
most
it?
stories.
What killed it?
Have no idea. It seems to have previously lost an arm, but it carried a sword with blood on it.
It's
Apart from that,
lost an arm, he says curiously.
yes, a past wound by the looks of it, cauterized wound. Whether that was done after he lost it or not, I do not know.
Cauterize wound. You see his eyebrow starts creeping over the back of his head, as there seems to be something to his ramblings. He looks back across at you and he says, Red Gauntlet?
Yes. Yes. Did you have somebody in here matching this description previously?
There was once a story of a Dwemer Lake that my mother used to tell me, he says, of a Dwemer Lake that fought with one arm after having the other burnt away by a large lizard. Like, he shrugs, says, I don't know. She was from Earth and weird. But the Red Gauntlet was a feared assassin of the Dwemer Lake, who generally appeared well in advance of invasions of worlds.
Ah. So we can expect some more of these little guys?
Perhaps not for some time, but the rumour goes that the Dwemer Lake with the red right hand was an omen of death and pain to come.
Well, sounds interesting. Might have to stick around a little longer.
Really? That's the complete opposite of my feeling, he says.
Well, obviously this guy isn't quite as feared as he once was now. I'll go chat with our friends downstairs. Thanks for the heads up.
No worries.
And yeah, I'll proceed back down and let those guys know.
Okay. While he was up there, what were you investigating or doing?
Moving the body.
Yep, let's roll him over.
Okay. What are you looking for?
Any obvious injuries first off?
Okay. Old injuries or new injuries?
New.
He has plenty of scar tissue all across his body. Most of it seems to be caused by blades, which would generally be roughly human-sized blades from the attack of them. From the shape of them. The other wounds seem to be from varying types of creatures and damages, and from teeth marks and strange kind of serrated edge type shapes, but they've all scarred over. As you look for anything, you can see that there is a darker green about his shoulders, which is the only difference in this side of him. There seems to be sort of like, almost like he was painted with watercolours across his back, and from where his shoulder blades should be, that's just slightly darker on the underside of them. It's quite noticeable though.
Okay, I have sorcery. Does it work in this world?
Yes.
So
Can it takes a bit of extra effort to use, but it's fine in this world.
Can I detect any magic off him?
Okay. Bear with me for a tick. There you go.
On the way back, I'll tell the enforcer, if he's still there, that his boss has got this one under control.
Are you certain?
Yeah, we're gonna help him out.
Okay. He nods and you see him step up into his exoskeleton. Says, make sure he calls me if he needs anything. I'm at his beck and call, he says. Make sure you point out to him that my name and identification, he gives you a number that's about 18 hexadecimal digits long. Hosea Fish, Enforcer, Hosea Fish. Anything he needs, any time of day or night, I am ready to serve.
No problem. I'm sure he'll be impressed.
Okay. There we are. Touch code. Okay, you can probably come up with a spell for it, but it's going to take you a little bit of time. Well, it's going to take probably an hour or so to actually generate the linchpins, etc., that you need in place to be able to determine the sorts of stuff that you're after.
Okay. Well, I'll tell the others. Yeah, I can do some magic, and might be able to detect what killed him, but it's going to take me an hour.
Look, rabbit out of the hat.
So this green, the green, extra greenness, it's only in the shoulder blade. It's not on any other parts of his body.
It appears concentrated there. Are you going to strip him?
I suppose I just want to check and see whether it's sort of blood pooling at the lower spots of his flesh or anything like that. So I'd probably make sure that anything that was the lowest point where there'd been blood pooling in those areas.
Okay, so you're going to strip him? Answer the question,
Why
James.
not?
If I'm there, I'll just run a knife up his shirt and take it off.
Not his shirt, it's his pants that he's wearing, and you rip his pants from his body. You see that there is a large pooling of the green area also around the crotch and also the back of the knees.
Is this his blood? Is it green?
Does it seem natural?
It doesn't seem like an unnatural pigment or any sort of, you have a look around the room and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like that there is any kind of moss or mould or anything like that growing around him in any way, shape or form. So yes, it would seem natural to his body somehow.
Mm-hmm. Anybody got any ideas about this?
I want to examine him really closely in case I need to ever replicate him. So,
Okay.
Or use a disguise that would make me look like him. I don't have the spell yet, but
like
I'm
a dead dream, like.
working on it.
Funny green markings and no pants.
All right. While he's searching that body, I'm gonna check the walls around here, make sure they're sort of all solid.
Okay. Right, so looking for any secret-y type stuff and...
Well, they come from shadow, so they can potentially come from anywhere, so I just want to make sure there's nothing dodgy going on around here.
Okay. No worries. You spend some time moving up and down the aqueduct trying to make sure that another one's not going to pop out of the woodwork, essentially.
Yeah, essentially.
What are you up to, happy smiling monk?
I'm a bit flummoxed. I'm very unsure of what has happened here. How far can we see up and down the aqueduct?
It's a curving area of the aqueduct where this occurred, so you can see no more than probably 10 metres in either direction, and that's only with a bright light unfurled.
And does it run under the buildings, or does it run into buildings, or?
It would definitely run under the buildings.
And would there be any access up into buildings from the aqueduct or down from buildings?
You've not come across any major traffic ways of going up and in to buildings, but you do see that there are modern devices stretching down into the water, probably, water intake valves and all that sort of stuff that come down the walls on either side. It's the only thing that looks quite jarring. This really does look like an above-ground Roman aqueduct, but underground sort of thing in sort of an ancient sort of style.
And
Definitely,
the water is very clear and blue.
and the water's very clear and blue, which is incredibly unusual for this place. Even the water that slides along the water, which you're assuming is what feeds this aqueduct in one way or another, it's thicker than normal water, and it's not pretty and blue. It's generally grey or got dark grit running through it and stuff like that. So this is very unusual.
Mr. Wolf, have you actually tasted any clear water while you've been here? I noticed you seem to be a connoisseur of sorts.
Well, okay. Well, from what I hear, from the description here on, I believe that is not water that's running out of the taps here.
Yet there seems to be places where it's taken up into buildings. Is it possible this is unnatural?
Well, since there's a big body here, a guy with antlers on his head, I'd say it's unnatural enough.
So should we follow that back to its source?
I think we should follow back to where it came from, yeah.
All right. And with that, I'll start tromping off towards where the water's flowing from.
Okay, let's back up past the area that you've come across. Oh, that you came down for. Okay, are you working on that spell or not?
I am going to work on that spell, yeah.
Okay, no worries.
Actually, and I've just written down, they're the spells I have hung on my arm.
Okay. Not a problem, thank you. No worries at all. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to take the time to work on the spell and try to figure out if it's magical, so anything in the area, so including the water.
Okay. Lee... Is it Lee Sung? Lee Sing?
Lee Sen.
Lee Sen. Are you staying and watching the wolf creating little intricate patterns, or are you heading with Little Pig to find the source of the clean water?
I might head with Little Pig.
Okay. Just by the way, Little Pig, while you were searching around, you found nothing of really major issue about here. There's no major pools of shadow, especially in the light that you thought about. All of the walls seem to be incredibly firm and solid and whatnot. No concerns whatsoever. You travel past where the ladder comes down. Doesn't take you very long before you come to a section, a segment where the water is running down, and you can see that it's coming in through drains and landing in this aqueduct. And you can see where it comes because there's horrible black marks down the sides of the walls. There's no water currently running in, but you do notice that all of a sudden the water goes from, and it's running quite fast, it goes from that horrible dull grey that the monk had in his glass when you were up in Beaners, and just immediately turns blue right before your very eyes. There's nothing that you can see. It just seems to be grey water, blue water.
Yeah. Well, I know a few worlds where I could make a fortune if I could do this. Any ideas there, Mr. Monk? Have you ever seen anything
touch
like
it.
this?
Stick my hand in the water, right where they meet.
Okay. You place your hand down, pushing forward. You actually feel some resistance. as if there's something there.
So it feels more than water.
Yes, imagine that. Imagine a sheet of gelatin stretched in between the two.
This is between the light and the dark
Yep.
water.
Do I feel like I make a hole in something, or is it just a barrier?
Are you going to push hard?
I want to
How much
poke a
are
hole
you
in
going
it.
to push?
I want to poke a hole in it with my finger if I can. Stick a finger through it.
You do stick a finger through it. You feel your finger moves through it as if it were a gelatin sheet. And you can see stream of the grey starts pouring through that hole and around your finger and into the blue water stream itself, beginning to dirty it. But still more blue water is moving forth, and it sort of gets swallowed up, and before a foot or two the grey water is absorbed by it all.
Just like there's some sort of filter here, I'll point out to the little pig.
Does the filter seem to heal itself at all?
You sit there and you watch it, and you can see where the little poked hole was. And after about a minute, the hole will, over the course of a minute, the hole gets smaller, 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 and then stops.
Fair enough.
How deep is the water?
It's around about, it's like a 2-foot square sort of area that this particular thing covers. So 2 foot deep.
Go on, jump in and lick it.
Yeah, well, I must admit I was going to actually try some of this clear water.
Okay. You scoop up some clear water, place it in your lovely pink little snout, and it tastes like crystal clear mountain spring water.
Yeah, I definitely got a bottle of this. This is good stuff.
Sell it. Call it naive backwards.
Maybe Venus cut me a deal.
That's right. Where is Venus from here?
Who knows?
Can we get him a pipe?
Yeah. He would actually fall a little bit back up the darkened area, so hence why you haven't come across blue. Yeah.
Back in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, so can we physically see anything, or is it like now that we've discovered it by touching it, is there something obvious that could be lifted out, or?
Are you going to try and grab it and lift it? You can't actually see it in the water in any way, shape, or form.
And it just is so I had to poke a finger through it to break it, so it's not, so it's just a barrier that's there.
Yeah, don't break it. These poor devils
No.
could do with some fresh water.
You do notice that you have some residue around the finger that you poked through the membrane as well.
Okay.
It appears to be exceptionally translucent. You can only just see it on your finger, but you can feel it in between your finger and thumb.
Yep. And is there any build-up on the dirty side of the filter?
No.
So whatever it's taking out is disappearing.
Maybe. I've seen stranger things in my travels.
Certainly. But this is a very useful tool.
Oh, indeed. Did the water continue on past the body the other way?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So before we leave here, is there anything otherwise around here? Any other entrances or anything we've passed, or any obvious reason for it to be here? I suppose.
You're going to have a good look around the area and
Gonna have a
hunt
good look
for any-
around the area.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You come to sorry, I've just got a bit of a sore throat. You come to a portion of the wall that Little Pig pushes, and you feel the rock shift, which is the first time that any of the wall rocks have moved in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Well, play with that rock. Does it come out? Does it move in?
You find that it's actually hinged, or it has some kind of hinging system upon it, and that you can manipulate it in like you push it and it levers open, and you see a compartment on the inside of it.
Okay.
Within that compartment, you find there is a sealed steel-like box with a passcode on it.
With a passcode.
Yep. There's an electronic display commonly used. Yeah, okay. Thanks, James, for making it quite plain using real English. It's a lock. And it's an electronic lock of some form. Seems to use some kind of biometric. There's a little hole to place it in. It also has the initials MC on it.
Okay. Alright, show it to my new monk friend. See if he can make anything out of it.
That's very interesting. How big is it? It's about just handholder size, I presume.
No, it's not actually. It's quite. Didn't I say how big it was? It's quite a large box. It's roughly. It's about 1 foot wide by 3 foot deep. As he draws it out, it's kind of.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, so I don't just lift. Well, I probably could lift it up, but I'll just drag it out.
It's not terribly heavy. It's also around about half a foot deep, sort of thing. About 15 centimetres.
Alright.
Looks
So-
like a violin case without the contours. It is definitely square, but about that size.
Yep.
Bit
Okay.
longer.
Like a security deposit box or something.
Yeah.
Yes, in an aqueduct.
This is very
Working
curious
hard.
to find this here. Do we have any way to get into it?
If it's only an ordinary lock, you should be able to open it. If you're a warden.
Yeah, in theory I could open any lock.
Yeah.
And in fact, if it's an electronic lock, it's even easier. So I'll wave my hand over it and try the lock.
You focus on the lock momentarily, and it pops open. The warden's skill easily proving its match.
Alright. I cautiously open the box.
Inside there is a journal, and you also see that the inside of it used to hold a weapon of sorts, a blade. It was a short blade. Probably it would have suited you quite nicely. But that weapon's currently gone, and in its place is a journal. The journal itself is around about just a little over A4 in size. The covering of it is made of leather. It's tied off with 2 strips of leather itself. The leather is embossed with a Celtic design, and it also has embedded in it this MC engraved name.
Alright. I pick it up and toss it to my monk friend. I think this is probably more in your realm.
I'll turn to the last entry and see what it is.
Just before we get to that, Little Pig, as you pick it up and hurl it across to the monk, you note underneath it a small vial that sits inside. Well, vial. It's like a little glass chamber, and you can see that there's some kind of liquid running around in it. It's almost too hard to see, almost purely transparent. But it's test tube in size roughly, and it's stoppered with wax.
Okay. I'll draw that out as well and hold on to it. I won't throw it.
Okay. Right, you open to the last page, Lee Sin, and you see inside it that it's just got a simple. The last page simply has the word star written on it and a question mark. And then the last words are, I must find out.
The last word on the previous page wasn't death, was it?
No.
Is it dated?
No.
I'll go back through the entries. What's the previous one to that?
Okay, the previous one to that, you actually see as you flick the page forward. This is probably a continuation of it. The person that's writing, who doesn't identify themselves, is talking about the last sighting of this person known as Star was in this particular area. She had come through this door, though he knows not why, because there is nothing of beauty in this land to be had. He'll do what little that he can to assist these people before he finds out what Star wanted here. He points out that it was rumoured in the Agora, he had heard rumours that the Red Right, the Dwimmerlake with the red right hand had targeted this area, and he hoped that it was not. And then you flip the page, Star. I must find out.
Okay.
He speaks of this Star as if he knows her quite well, and you can tell from his writing that he's deeply enamoured of her.
Well, I guess we find out if Bina knows anything about this Star character. We'll head back. Well, I'm going to head back to where our friend's messing around with his spell, see what he's up to.
Okay. Well, after fiddling about and searching around the area, etc., it's pretty much coming up to the hour anyway of you having sat next to the Dwimmerlake. The smell's atrocious, but you've gotten used to it. But you see your two companions wandering back down the aqueduct, holding some items with horrible twisting faces. They're kind of looking at you as if to say, how can you stand that? But your spell's almost ready to go.
Okay, yeah, complete the spell.
Okay, you put in place the final linchpins and turn to the body. What exactly are you trying to find out from your divination or form research?
I'm trying to find out if it's what magic is on this creature, whether it killed him or what magic he was carrying, and if the water is magical in any way.
Okay. Right. I'll leave it up to the guys to tell you about the water, because that would have taken you probably a lot longer. But we'll say the spell gives you the information back that this creature was killed in an instant. Essentially, the structure of its internal organs was destroyed. So, like, the structure just suddenly, it's almost as if every cell decided to burst at the same moment from all of its major internal organs.
So he's got a bowler.
Damn, it's a bowler, we're all fucked.
Last visiting Africa of Earth.
Alright.
Okay, does the water come off as magical at all?
No.
No. Okay. So it's just
We'll
this
report
creature.
to you what we found about the filter.
Yeah, and I let them know that this guy is essentially a big bag of jello now at this stage.
That will
Did
be
it
a
affect-
good description of it.
Did he affect his bone structure?
No.
I think it was
No,
just his
it was
organs.
It was just the internal organs and flesh. All of the soft tissue, essentially, underneath the skin, decided to erupt at the same time. You won't find a single intact cell inside his entire body apart from bone or anything that's really firmly structured.
Was this brought on by magic?
Umbra.
Okay.
Okay.
An exceptional master of the Umbra.
Well, enemy of my enemy is my friend, maybe.
Perhaps this was Star's doing.
It could be, yeah. This guy didn't come in from where down the other end where it used to went, did he?
Didn't really see a way in. But there's some sort of mystic filter thing there. I doubt whether he'd put it in. Whoever did this may have done that.
Okay. Well, can we look up the other way and see if we can figure out how your man got into this place?
Can do. I was going to just nip upstairs and talk to Bina and see if he knows anything about this Star character.
Okay.
Perhaps MC. If you guys want to go on ahead, I'll catch up.
Let's do
All
that.
right.
I'm keen to see if the water stays clear.
Okay. You two head off further along where the water heads off to. Pardon me, sorry. And Little Pig, you head back up into the bar again.
Yeah.
You see, with the evaporation of the Enforcer, that the locals are almost all back in force again. And are a little bit surprised to see you wander back in, actually, and there's a bit of a murmur, and you hear a couple of them mention to their buds, "Oh, sure he was the killer."
Not this time, lad. Not this time.
Bina looks across at you. Ah, come back to tell me the good news. It's not, and he looks about the locals, the boogeyman we were talking about.
Oh, no. He looks pretty scary. And, well, I obviously can't confirm 100% because I ain't seen the boogeyman before.
If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, probably a duck.
Or a duck impersonator. But I was wondering if you've ever heard of anyone called Star.
See a dreamy little look crosses his face. Yes, Star Leech.
I
Yes,
see.
you see him drift away, and then he sort of shakes his head and comes back to you. Yeah, yes, why do you ask?
Oh, I found a little memento downstairs that referred to her. Initialed MC. Do those initials ring any bells?
MC? Not at all. He looks at you, he says, where is this memento?
The other two have it downstairs. Our monk friend, or the head enforcer as he's known around here, is holding on to it.
Hmm. Then you see him sort of drift back and he starts thinking about Star, and you can see a big smile start creeping across his face.
It would appear this MC seems to know this Star, almost as well as you.
Oh, I don't say that I know her very well. In fact, the moments I spent with her were very brief. If only they could have been much longer, I would spend a lifetime with her.
So she has been here, though?
No, she'd never come to such common an area as here. She's been on Weld before, though. Not through my door.
Okay.
She exited here.
Oh, I see. And when might that have been? Is this a recent event?
Time's a bit difficult. Hang on, he sort of concentrates for a minute, and you see again the smiles start to creep over his face, and then he starts to discipline himself. And
Focus.
Perhaps a little under a year ago.
I see. That makes it difficult to tie into current events.
Perhaps. Time has a funny way of meeting up and twisting around and coming back on itself.
I see.
Especially
Okay.
where Star is concerned anyway, and then you see the mention of her name again, he goes all glassy-eyed.
All right, I'll leave you to your fond dreams. And
But,
I'll-
yeah, no, there was nothing untoward. He says, no, that's right. He says, I must focus. And then he starts glaring up at the ceiling again, gets that little smile on his face, and doesn't even notice you as you walk away.
I'll head back out.
Okay. Okay, the pair of you have wandered along for about 5 minutes before the little trotters of Pig can be heard clearly behind you, hurrying to catch up. You've noticed that you've moved past several areas where water actually joins the aqueduct and flows in. You can see that those water sources themselves are black and horrible. Most of them are dry at the moment, but you can find one that's still running, and it comes down and it's a horrible grey. And as it enters the water stream, you see that the grey sort of moves out slightly, but it's really contained in an area, and the water continues on blue until it reaches, and you're basically standing looking into a large reservoir point at this moment. When Little Pig catches up to you, the water pours out of here and drops into a large sort of open reservoir area with a walkway around the edges of it. But the water below, the blue goes in, but it all looks grey and horrible, as it's a multi-collection point for probably about 20 portions of aqueduct the same, that all reach the same area.
Fair enough. So I can't cope with this much.
Apparently not. Have you washed your hands at all, James?
No, I probably haven't. Other than, instinctively wiping them on myself. No.
Okay. No worries.
Does this place look big enough that this guy could have come through here?
Yes. Yeah, this is definitely an area where he could have come through, and you can actually see that there is a, pardon me, a large portal covering metal in the centre of the chamber above, which would easily accommodate a creature of his size.
So he would have come from above the street level.
Yes.
Could one of those things walk around in this population without drawing too much of an eye, or?
More than likely. This city itself is the most alien friendly in the world, so in this particular world. And there are lots of aliens moving about. So many that it's not, it's not human-centered or anything like that. There are a lot of aliens. The only massive concentration of humans you'll find will be in the tower area, which is where all the rich Gensky Confederates live.
Okay, let's have a look and see where the portal goes.
Okay. To do so, you're going to have to work out a way to actually get up to it. It actually sits directly above the main reservoir portion of this particular area, and it's probably about 30 feet up.
For the bog standard adventurers pack of grappling hook and 30 foot a rope. All right. You want to give me a boost up? Has anybody been able to give me a boost up?
Hey,
We're
I mean,
superhuman, aren't we?
we're all ranked in strength. We could throw you up there, no worries. How far above us is it?
Can we just
30.
jump up there?
30 feet.
Is there any access up there at all, sorry?
Not that you can see, no. There's no climbing rungs or anything like that. You could
Alright.
probably do it with just climbing along the rocks, etc., that form the chamber, but it'll involve some cliffhanger-like manoeuvres above the where the sort of roof domes up to this particular area.
Well, the other option is we can work out where it is and go there overland.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So are we on the walkway around this reservoir now?
Yep, can be if you want.
And how about we have a quick look around through there, or make sure we explore where that is, and then try and find ourselves upstairs.
And the reservoir itself is essentially, or the walkway around the reservoir just walks directly around the reservoir. It's positioned above the water, probably about 5 feet above the water itself. It's accessed, there are iron rungs between every sort of aqueduct opening that you can climb down or up from the thing, but it just walks in a circle essentially, moving amongst the aqueducts itself. You do note that in the aqueduct that you came up, there are actually two large chunks of stone that are sitting upon the walkway beneath you. And as you turn and look up at the aqueduct where you came from, you actually see those two chunks of stone high up on the aqueduct. Look like they might be where a set of antlers probably smashed into the wall, as if it was in a rush and not paying attention.
So he was running from somebody that did this to him.
Running from someone or running after someone?
Yeah.
Well, if we're not going to be able to go through this door from below, I suggest we go up top.
Okay. You're going to pace it out? How are you going to try and work out where it is?
Well, I suppose I could use my Warcraft, which is tactics, so I could kind of figure out roughly where I am easy enough and work it out that way.
Okay,
Yeah.
No worries.
We've got Mr. Monk. Surely he can work out things like that. That's got to be things that he can do. He can visage the whole thing in his mind.
One with the water.
Okay. Right, you get back up onto the main thoroughfare, heading along the street. You actually see that the aqueduct itself actually moves largely beneath buildings for most of most of its length. It snakes and twists and follows the pattern of roads. So, in essence, it doesn't take much skill at all to find where the convergence is. And the convergence that you find is it actually comes to an area where you find what would have been probably a guard station in the old prison, but it's been converted into a large mall-like area. You're fairly certain though that you're 100% certain you know where the metal trapdoor is, but when you get where it is, you see that there are tiles above it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, this is
It's
interesting.
a high-tech world, prison world, isn't it? There's a lot of cameras.
There are.
Okay, let's see if we can figure out where we could possibly get access to these cameras then.
Oh, they'd be in the realm of the enforcers.
That's what I was just about to say, Mr. Head Enforcer.
Heading forward with it, luckily enough.
Your little mate that you impressed said he's at your disposal. Give him a call whenever you need him. Maybe
Oh, we
this.
got his number? Let's give him a call.
I don't know if I can remember the number, but yeah. It's Hosea Fish.
Okay. Not a problem. Hosea Fish will assist you, but it will have to be in the next session of the Knight's Fables. Because that's pretty much where we've gotten to. 2 hours, it's getting to sort of like be the point where that we'll leave it each time.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hopefully you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
I'll see if I can have a talk to Bruce and see if I can get him back on board in some way, shape or form.
Yeah. Yeah. Posted.
Yep, and yeah, so it'll be a fortnight from now. Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks very much, guys.
No worries. Cheers, fellas.